Hey, Shalom. Is Jonathan on the call?
Khan out of one.
All right, you should be live. You should have begun.
All right, Khan.
You know how to go live? You have to press the blue go live button in the top right corner.
Khan, I just hit
Once
it.
you enter the broadcast. And you have to change your name because it'll probably still be my name.
Okay. Khan, I just did it. And one of the soldiers was asking if somebody can post that whole address in the chat as well.
Go ahead.
All right, Khan.
I was talking about the soldiers that.
Okay, Khan. I'll post it in there too.
Water.
Khan. Hey, I don't have a full address. I just got this piece of it, but I'm pretty sure that's all. This will be enough. All right, shalom, Israel. We're still giving it a couple of minutes. We're getting everything set up in the background. The Shah Shabbat Shalom. You know, Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shah Barakatham to all the soldiers, man, in the four corners. Everybody pushing this word in sincerity and truth, man.
Shalom, Israel.
Shalom.
Shalom.
Let's see who we got.
Hey, Shalakia.
Khan, go ahead.
Hey, let's make sure we post that time. Make sure we post that time for camp tomorrow. I'm not sure if it's adjacent to our regular time. Make sure we post the time, Aki.
Khan, out of one. Does anybody have a time that they can post it in there? I didn't have the full address. I just put the piece in there that I know.
All right, camp begins at 3:30. 3:30 Eastern.
Khan. Maria Parkinson, Shalom. Miyani Luxury Extension, Shalom. JT Turner, SOT Soldier Yahawada, Shalom. Sister TT, Shalom. Jason, Yvette McKellar, Shalom. Sierra Blanks, Andrea Jones, Papa Legba, True Blessing. Shalom to everybody, man. Shalom.
Shalom, quiet.
Shalom,
Yahweh Shem Yahshua
Yahweh Hashem Yahshua Barakatah. Khan, I'm gonna give him probably about 3 or 4 more minutes. Let me go get a glass of water. I'll be right back.
Everybody knows that there's a parking deck or something close by for parking.
Shalom. Sincere Israel.
All right, let's begin, Ak.
All right, Khan. All right, so Shalom Israel. Today we're gonna do it. The lesson is gonna be structured just a little bit differently, but it's gonna be you know, you're still gonna be able to get some good precepts out of it. We dealing with the background of the New Testament, and I think it's a lot of jewels in this lesson that will help you see some things that you may not have been able to see before. All right. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna share this screen. All right, Khan. So let me know if you can see that. If you're watching the live, let me know if you can see that on the phone. I can't see the chat right now, so I'm not gonna be able to answer any questions in the chat. Okay, Khan. All praises, all praises. So yeah, man, we dealing with the background of the New Testament. So for this lesson right here, you're gonna need your KJV, your Apocrypha, internet connection if you got it, just so you can see the slides. Otherwise, you can go back and watch it. Any additional resources I'm using, obviously a dictionary, and then I got this book called A Survey of the New Testament. When I went through school, they use this. They teach with this book right here as a part of their curriculum, and this is a real good tool, man. Like they got some really good historical information in there that we're gonna go through. So we ain't gonna get too crazy with it, but you'll have precepts and you'll have historical references in this lesson. So it's some things that you can use to bounce off of if you get a high level scoffer or somebody like that. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. All right, cool. So you got different sections in the New Testament. All right, so the New Testament, you got the Gospels, then you got the book of Acts, which some people kind of treat it as a gospel, but it's not technically a gospel. You got the Pauline epistles, which are letters from Paul that instructs the churches in various places throughout the diaspora. Then you got the apostolic letters, which is letters from the elders to smaller general populations. And then you got the book of Revelation. And the book of Revelation is kind of like they call it apocalyptic literature because they don't have a better term for it. But these are visions and events told by John on the island of Patmos. All right. So my first precept I'm gonna pull is Revelation 7 and 9.
All right. Can y'all hear me?
Khan, we can hear you out.
Okay. This is Revelation chapter 7 and verse 9. After this I beheld, and lo, a great multitude, which no man could number, of all nations and kindreds and people and tongues, stood before the throne and before the Lamb, clothed with white robes and palms in their hand.
All right, Khan. So right here, what we're dealing with is John on that island of Patmos again. But what he's seeing is he's seeing a vision of all these people standing in front of the throne. Now, notice that all nations, all kindreds, all people of all tongues and languages are standing in front of the throne. One of the major questions that we got to deal with as Israelites is, why is this so? Why is it multiple people from multiple different places? You know what I'm saying? And we know what the doctrine says, but in this presentation, we're going to actually explore and see how it unfolds in the Bible. So then by the time the New Testament comes around, the stage is already set. You know what I'm saying? The Israelites are already scattered to these nations, and we're gonna see that. The next precept is going to be Acts 2 and 5 through 11.
All right, this is Acts chapter 2 and verse 5. And they were dwelling at Jerusalem Jews, devout men out of every nation under heaven.
Keep going.
Now when this was noised abroad, the multitude came together and were confounded, because that every man heard them speak in his own language.
That's right. So once again, we see multiple people, multiple tongues. Okay, let's keep reading. Just read straight through to 11.
Okay. And they were all amazed and marveled, saying one to another, Behold, are not all these which speak Galileans? And how hear we every man in our own tongue, wherein we were born? Parthians and Medes.
Hey, hold on
and
real quick.
Elamites.
Salakia. So look, what you want to do is take note, put this on your paper somewhere. All right. All of these people groups that we get ready to name off from verse 9 all the way down through 11. Just go ahead and write those on the side of the paper. And we're gonna revisit that. All right, so go ahead.
Parthians and Medes and Elamites and dwellers in Mesopotamia and in Judea and Cappadocia and Pontus and Asia, Phrygia and Pamphylia, in Egypt and in parts of Libya, about Cyrene and strangers of Rome, Jews and proselytes, Cretes and Arabians. We do hear them speak in our tongue the wonderful works of God.
All right. So once again, multiple people groups. And I want to stress again, at any point you can stop us, ask a question about a precept. We'll go into it briefly. But I think if you follow with us, you'll kind of see what we're doing. All right. So once again, we see multiple people, multiple languages. But why are these people? And we know in chapter 2, these people are gathering to Jerusalem for the feast of Pentecost. So now the question is, why are they gathering? Why are all these people coming to celebrate Pentecost in the first place? All right. So that's another question we got to answer. Let's hit Ephesians 3:1-7, and then we can start chopping it up. Just to get some background, because so we hit Revelation, right, which is the apocalyptic literature of the New Testament. Then we hit the book of Acts, which is the history of the apostles. And now we're going to hit one of Paul's letters. So we kind of getting a well-rounded understanding of what the New Testament teaches as far as who is coming into, you know what I'm saying? Who is coming into this thing? All right, you got it. You can read that straight through too.
You said to 11?
Through 7, 1-7.
Okay. This is Ephesians chapter 3 and verse 1. For this cause, I, Paul, the prisoner of Jesus Christ, for you Gentiles, if ye have heard of the dispensation of the grace of God, which is given me to you word, how that by revelation he made known unto me the mystery, as I wrote afore in few words, whereby when ye read, ye may understand my knowledge in the mystery of Christ, which in other ages was not made known unto the sons of men, as it is now revealed unto his holy apostles and prophets by the Spirit, that the Gentiles should be fellow heirs and of the same body and partakers of his promise in Christ by the gospel, whereof I was made a minister according to the gift of the grace of God given unto me by the effectual working of his power.
All right, that's right. So Paul is letting you know right here that a major portion of his ministry is unlocking that mystery of how these Gentiles get to partake in the promises of the Most High. That's the major point that Paul is trying to push right now. This is a mystery. Our people have not understood this for the longest period of time. Why is it that these Gentiles, or how is the Most High going to go and gather his people? And at the same time, who are these Gentiles that's just coming in and starting to keep our customs? Who are these people? You know what I'm saying? They couldn't see how it all connected. So that's basically the background of what we're dealing with. The slide that I got up right now, for the people that's only on the phone, they're not going to see the slides, but I'll explain them. So what we're looking at right now is Merriam-Webster's definition of diaspora. All right. Diaspora is the first definition is actually the Jews living outside Palestine or modern Israel. Okay. But if you go down to C at the bottom, the second definition, part C, it says the movement, migration, or scattering of a people away from an established or ancestral homeland. And this is why, you know what I'm saying, the conscious community is dealing with the Black diaspora or the African diaspora, right? Because they don't see themselves as Israelites. So they trying to connect with these Africans, so-called Africans, throughout their diaspora. You know what I'm saying? Wherever they might be. We got sisters who look like this. You know what I'm saying? Far to the right over here. You know, darker in complexion. We move lighter and lighter. We got Northern Kingdom sisters with the straight hair. You know, we got brothers with like, it ain't no particular look to an Israelite. And this was the work of the Most High, man. This was the work of the Most High, because he spread his people out. He scattered his people across the four corners of the earth. All right, we're gonna get let's get James 1:1 real quick. Gotta hit that one. Just to give you some context and help people understand that the New Testament was written with this in mind. This is probably the biggest piece of the puzzle we didn't have when we was in Christianity. You know what I'm saying? Like, we didn't know, like when we heard somebody talk about what is the gospel, nobody ever mentioned the regathering of the 12 tribes. Nobody mentioned that. And so that's a paramount part of this picture, man. Go ahead and hit James 1:1.
James chapter 1 and verse 1. James, a servant of God and of the Lord Jesus Christ, to the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad, greetings.
See that? So the first thing James does when he opens up this letter is he lets you know that he's speaking to the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad. That's the first thing that comes out of his mouth. He dealing with his diaspora, man. He dealing with his people that was spread to the various different places. If we keep looking at this slide right here, part B says the settling of scattered colonies of Jews outside ancient Palestine after the Babylonian exile. We're gonna actually see that throughout biblical history, every exile and every captivity scattered us further. And we're going to demonstrate that here in a second. So the Israelite diaspora existed for several centuries before the fall of the Second Temple in areas previously occupied by world powers like the Assyrians, Babylonians, and Persian empires. So I put the sources in red at the bottom under the paragraph. So if y'all want to go back and get those sources, it's a lot of our scoffers in the conscious community who don't believe nothing unless we got extra biblical sources. So, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes it's necessary for us to pull those. But we see here that the Israelite diaspora existed for several centuries before the fall of the Second Temple. The fall of the Second Temple we talking about 70 AD at that point. So way before that, we had a diaspora. All right. And even though we were scattered, now think about it. If you're an Egyptian, right, and you get kicked out of your land, out of Egypt, you have no reason to hold on to your culture now, because you didn't have no promises, you didn't have no prophecy saying one day you're gonna come back to your land. This is something that sets us apart as Israelites. We knew that one day, if we weren't keeping these commandments, we knew the Most High was gonna scatter us. We knew that. We knew the game plan. And we also knew that when we was in the land of our captivity, we had to face our land. We had to pray to the Most High. We had to be repentant for, you know what I'm saying, for the things that we did wrong and for our father's sins in order for us to return. So this was the incentive for us to keep our culture intact outside of our land. And this is why archaeologists, when they go to search and find out where the Israelites traveled to, they can find places where, okay, cool, there was no pork remain, or there were no swine bones found in this settlement. So we have a good reason to believe that these people was Israelites. Okay, so that's one of the key things to anthropology when you're dealing with the Israelites, is that you can follow their cultural markers to know where they've been at. All right. Khan, go ahead.
What Jonathan's speaking on, they'll look for like old traditions and certain customs that our people practice, and they'll find these certain customs in various places throughout the earth. So like they'll, for the Native Americans, they'll acknowledge, well, they They circumcise their children. They acknowledge a 7-day Sabbath. They acknowledge the dark moon as a new moon. Things of that nature. That's how they put together, that's how they can come to the conclusion that these people may be, descendants of Jacob or whatnot.
That's right.
Because sometimes we weren't keeping the customs as they're written in the scriptures, but there was always remnants of these things that were left over.
That's right. That's right. And then they would use that, and they would, based off of how many different markers you had that connected you with those people, that's how they would make the determination. So when you look at Amalek, right? They have very little evidence that they the people, other than the fact that they currently hold the Talmud and the oral traditions, right? Now, those things that they have, that's disputable whether our people wrote that in the first place. But scientists don't care about that. They saying they the only people with it, so they got a step ahead of everybody else. And so basically they're using a cultural marker to say who the people are. They don't have no substantial evidence outside of the fact that they have strong oral tradition. That's it. Okay. Let's hit Jeremiah 30 and 11. Because we don't oh, Khan, go ahead.
The reason that they do hold such a strong oral tradition in the Torah is because there are, in the Torah, how it's written in their scrolls, supposedly there aren't any vowels. Like, it's written in the old Hebrew. It's written in Paleo Hebrew. So they have to memorize how it's actually spoken, as opposed to they have to memorize how it's spoken in their tongue with the Paleo Hebrew in order to pronounce it how they claim what they claim is modern Hebrew today, because they can't actually read it for it or something along those lines.
Khan, I have heard things like that. I've also heard of what they call the Samaritan Pentateuch. I don't know if you guys ever heard of that. I can't remember if I have a slide on that in this presentation. Maybe not. But the Samaritan Pentateuch is written in characters that closely resemble Paleo Hebrew. You know what I'm saying? And it's dated back. You know what I'm saying? It's dated back some time. Like the Samaritan Pentateuch, their version of the Torah is older than Amalek's version of the Torah that they say is theirs. So it's a lot of debate about that. But yeah, they definitely are holding on to some things that's helping them substantiate who they are. But this is the problem with that theory. And everybody knows that when you go back into history, the victor writes the history books. Whoever won the war is the person who's going to write the history books. Whoever won the war is the person that's going to end up with the relics and with the monuments. You know what I'm saying? And they're going to go through and destroy the monuments and the relics that they don't want, that don't tell their story. Okay, so this is a lot of what happened. So we got to take that into consideration. That'll be a really good lesson to go into one day, just dealing with how they whitewash history. Adawan Eliel did a lesson on Esau a while back. It really hit a lot of them points. So I encourage everybody to go back and watch that. Did somebody say Salakia? All right, Khan. Hey, go ahead and hit Jeremiah 30 and 11.
All right, this is Jeremiah chapter 30 and verse 11. For I am with thee, saith the Lord, to save thee, though I make a full end of all nations, whither I have scattered thee. Yet will I not make a full end of thee.
You see
but
that?
I will correct thee.
Khan, you got it. Keep going.
But I will correct thee in measure, and will not leave thee altogether unpunished.
That's right. So the Most High has scattered us through these nations, but he not planning to do that forever. For those who repent and come back, Hey, the Most High gonna welcome you with open arms, man. Especially, I mean, if you Israel, of course, but He's gonna welcome you back with open arms, just like in the parable of the two sons or the prodigal son. The son who came back, you know, he welcomed him with open arms and then through a feast. And we looking forward to the day we had that feast with Yahushua, man. So that is the patience of the saints right there. I'm gonna keep going. So look, so these are some more historical documents, right? They kind of back up the narrative that we were scattered through the nations, in case anybody wants to doubt it. The sources down at the bottom. This one is really good. The Neo-Assyrian Empire actually had a resettlement policy, and what they did was when they came and took over your nation, they set it up where as soon as they took over your nation, they would relocate your people to a different place that would help their empire. So for instance, if you come in to get Israelites, you know that they're good at crops, you know that they're good at agriculture. So the Assyrians would put them in a place where they could produce agricultural crops and goods for them in their land. They could keep their own culture, but you come over here and build my crops over here. You know what I'm saying? So this was a resettlement policy of the Neo-Assyrian Empire. They did this for centuries. They did it with many nations and not only Israel. And I'm gonna read this real quick. It says the practice of resettling population groups was a key constituent of the structural setup of ancient Near Eastern states, including the Assyrian Empire. This policy underpinned the high degree of cultural homogeneity and economic balance that characterized Assyria in the late 8th and 7th centuries BC, despite the vast climatic and geographical differences within the region. Okay, and in some Assyrian records, extra biblical sources now, but some Assyrian records indicate that over 27,000 people were taken to various parts of the Assyrian Empire after they took the Northern Kingdom. So that's a lot of people, man. That's a lot of people. Let's hit 2 Kings 15:29. This is what documents that captivity. Okay, and anybody who needs precepts for Deuteronomy 28, where the Most High told us that He was going to scatter us. Deuteronomy 28 and what was that 48? But yeah, where the Most High told us He was going to scatter us. These are the precepts for this. 2 Kings 15 and 29.
15 and 29.
Yeah, Khan. Hey, go ahead with the question.
No, I was saying it's Deuteronomy 28 and 54.
Deuteronomy 28:54. Khan.
All right, so this is 2 Kings chapter 15 and verse 29. In the days of Pekah, king of Israel, did Tiglath-Pileser, king of Assyria, took Gihon and Abel-Beth, Makkah and Genoa and Kadesh and Hazor and Gilead and Galilee, all the land of Naphtali, and carried them captive to Assyria.
So look at all the kingdoms, man, of Israel that fell and had to go serve these damn devils in Assyria to build up their kingdom. Let's look at the next one. Jump to verse or chapter 18, verse 11. And see, a lot of the times we read a lot of this history in the Old Testament and we kind of gloss over it. But when you hearing a lot of names and a lot of timestamps and historical things that sound boring, all of that stuff is adding up to the meta narrative of the Bible. You can go ahead and read it.
Okay. This is 2 Kings chapter 18 and verse 11. And the king of Assyria did carry away Israel unto Assyria, and put them in Halah and in Habor by the river of Gozan, and in the cities of the Medes.
Khan. So, and we're going to see a map here in a second. Another reference is 1 Chronicles 5 and 26. We don't have to hit that. But if you're looking at the live, you'll see this map. You know what I'm saying? The Assyrian Empire took us, man, from this green region down here at the bottom. And look at some of the places. Remember some of the places we wrote down in Acts 2 and 9 and 10. They show up on this map. You got Media, right? You got Hamath is one of the places that you're going to see later on in the Bible. You got Damascus. Why are the apostles in the New Testament on the road to Damascus? Why are Israelites even living in Damascus? But we see here that Damascus is one of the places where we had to travel through to get to our ultimate goal of Nineveh, you know what I'm saying, or Assyria. So now we're starting to see how this full picture come together after we left the northern kingdom and was spread, you know what I'm saying, up towards Assyria. You know, keep rolling. So another key captivity was by the Babylonians. Nebuchadnezzar, he took Jerusalem and he captured King Jeconiah. Okay, and then he actually appointed Zedekiah in his place. And the plundering of the city in 597 BCE are corroborated by a passage in the Babylonian Chronicles. So when people tell you that the Bible be making up facts and be lying about stuff, well, now you got to say that the Babylonian records are lying too. The Babylonian Chronicles got to be lying too. And I got the link down here at the bottom. It's at the British Museum. You know what I'm saying? It's on their website. So these are things that we can go and verify and test, man. We know that these things happen. It says, in the 7th year, in the month of Kislev, the king of Akkad mustered his troops, marched to Haiti land, and encamped the city of Judah. And on the 9th day of Adar, he seized the city and captured the king. He appointed there a king of his own choice, and taking heavy bribe, brought it back to Babylon. Let's hit Jeremiah 29:28. So a lot of this, the early parts of this lesson, I'm just showing you how we got scattered to these various places.
So verse 28?
Con.
All right, it's Jeremiah chapter 29 and verse 28. For therefore he sent unto us in Babylon, saying, this captivity is long. Build ye houses and dwell in them. Plant gardens and eat the fruit of them.
That's right. So they knew that this was going to be a long captivity, man. The Most High actually told them it was going to be 70 years in various places in Jeremiah. All right. I'm going to put some more references up on the screen. But this is just to demonstrate to you. And think about it. 70 years is a long time to be anywhere. So over the period of 70 years, I mean, over the last 10 years, I done lived in like 4 different states. You know what I'm saying? And you know how Jake is. Jake come to North Carolina, find him a chick there. Go up to Virginia, find him a chick over there. So after 70 years of doing that, man, it's easy for the Israelites to be everywhere. You know, that's not unbelievable. But let's look at this map. So this map right here shows you the Neo-Babylonian Empire between 625 BC and 539 BC. And once again, various places on this map are places that we see in Acts 2. It's a reason why Acts 2 only has certain nations listed. Look at it. We got Nineveh again, because remember when a new empire took over, a lot of times they would rename places, but if a place was of high stature, there would be no reason to rename it because people already know about that place. So it actually makes more sense for them to leave it the same name. So some of these places, they leave the same name. Some of these places, they change names. But if you look at it, you got Babylon over here. You got Elam and Susa. Susa is a mega city, you know, in the ancient world. It's a lot of artifacts and archaeology found there. You got Tyre, Byblos, Haran up here at the top, Carchemish. So all of these things, man, these things help us pinpoint why our people went where they went. I'm gonna keep rolling. I ain't gonna spend too long on that. These maps definitely are helpful though. And right here, that red line shows you the path that they took according to various sources, the path that they took and how they got to Babylon. And it makes sense they didn't go through the desert, right? Because if you're an army, right, you gotta feed and water all your army plus the people you bringing back in captivity. So you don't want to travel through the desert because it's gonna be hard feeding an army full of people plus 27,000 people or however many people you done captured, trying to feed them in the desert. So it makes sense to travel through cities. You know what I'm saying? And that's why they took that route. All right. So now we're getting into it. So Hellenization. This is another key point of the background of the New Testament. Hellenization is defined as the spread of Greek culture and the assimilation into Greek culture of non-Greek people, especially during the Hellenistic periods following Alexander the Great in the 4th century. Let's look at 1 Maccabees 1 and 14.
All right, this is 1 Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 14. Whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem, according to the customs of the heathen.
So they built places of exercise in our land, according to the customs of the heathen. So imagine you living, you know what I'm saying? You living in ancient Israel, and somebody just come and put up a damn stadium in the middle of your, you know what I'm saying, the middle of your city. You're gonna be like, what the hell is this? And then when you see it, you got brothers and cousins and uncles who enjoy going to partake in that now. And over the period of years, it becomes a part of culture, and people are losing their own culture and their own identity to take on this brand new identity that's come to play, man. These are the things that happen in the Bible. Go ahead, Al.
Yeah, so it really doesn't take long for people to be assimilated. At the least, it's probably like 2 or 3 generations. The second generation, your children probably won't even speak your native tongue, and they'll be dressing like the other nation. Third generation, they probably won't even acknowledge who they are. They'll probably call themselves by the place that they live in.
Right.
So it doesn't take too long.
That's right. That's right, man. I mean, think about how easily we move to a new neighborhood. Hey, close that door. Think about how easily we move to a new neighborhood, and now, you know what I'm saying, that's our neighborhood. That's the neighborhood we rep now. You know, I remember when I was in high school, well, when I was in middle school, I moved to a different neighborhood. And when I got to that new neighborhood, man, and I would go to school, people would be like, yo, where you from? Oh, I'm from Folkestone. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody want to know where you from. And if that neighborhood wasn't about nothing, then you ain't about nothing. And so we took that and we kind of internalized that and started calling ourselves by these places, man. I can imagine that a lot of that was happening back during the Bible. You know, we even see times when the Pharisees kind of mocked Yahushua. It was like, ain't nothing good coming out of Galilee. You know, this man was probably from the slums or something. You know, and they Galilee, get out of here. This man, he ain't got nothing. So this ain't nothing new, man. It's nothing new under the sun. Let's hit 2 Maccabees 6 and 1. And matter of fact, I'm gonna read that one. I'm gonna read it straight through, only because I'm already there. So 2 Maccabees 6 and 1. Not long after this, the king sent an old man of Athens to compel the Jews to depart from the laws of their fathers and not to live after the laws of the Most High, and to pollute also the temple in Jerusalem, and to call it the temple of Jupiter, Olympus, and that in Gerizim of Jupiter, the defender of strangers, as they did desire that dwelt in the place. Now check this out. Verse 2 says, in Gerizim, they called that place Jupiter, the defender of strangers. Why would they name that place Jupiter, the defender of strangers? Anybody on the call can answer that. Like, why would they randomly call that place Jupiter, the defender of strangers? So I have a theory about this. My theory is that these people were not Greeks, man. So when they renamed their temple, this was a strange god to them. They never served Jupiter before that. So now they called the temple something to make it sound like it fits them. This is the same thing that happens in America right now. You know what I'm saying? You go to the hood and they got a church called, you know what I'm saying, All Souls Saved Church or something like that. Why would you name a church? Why would you name a church that? Because people in the hood be feeling like, you know what I'm saying, the Most High not for them, or life is too hard for the Most High to really be dealing with them. So now you name it something to appeal to their senses. You know what I'm saying? Like, these are things that the heathens been doing. I'm gonna keep reading down through verse 6. The coming in of this mischief was sore and grievous to the people, for the temple was filled with riot and reveling by the Gentiles, who dallied with harlots and had to do with women within the circuit of the holy places. And besides that, brought in things that were not lawful. The altar also was filled with profane things, which the law forbiddeth. Neither was it lawful for a man to keep Sabbath days or ancient feasts, or to profess himself at all to be a Jew. So this is how it happens, man. This is how Hellenization can happen. This wasn't no accidental thing. Like, the Most High knew what he was doing, man. He said he was going to punish us, and he did his thing. So what we're looking at now is we're looking at pictures of a place called Scythopolis. In the Old Testament, this exact same place was called Beit Shean. Okay, I can't remember what that means. The house of something. I can't remember what it means, but it was called Beit Shean, and you can find that place in 1 Samuel 31:10 and Judith 3:10. And what they did was they turned around and they built all their Roman stuff there. They built a Colosseum there. They built a temple there. They built all this stuff. And now when you look at that city, it feels like it's a Greek city. So 1,000, 2,000 years later, you look back, man, who's the Israelites? You see Greek stuff all through there. You like, oh, they was white people. You know what I'm saying? It's easy to make that connection, man. It's real easy to make that connection. Hey, I'm going to get you to pull 1 Samuel 31:10, and I'm going to get Judith.
and 10. All right, it's 1 Samuel chapter 31 and verse 10. And they put his armor in the house of Ashtaroth, and they fastened his body to the wall of Bethshan.
That's right. So this was King Saul. Okay. So after King Saul died, they took his body, and you know what I'm saying, they desecrated that man's body, man. That was a judgment from the Most High. But notice that they called that place by name, Bethshan. All right. So I'm gonna read Judith 3:10. And he pitched between Geba and Scythopolis, and there he tarried a whole month, that he might gather together all the carriages of his army. So here we see the exact same place called Scythopolis. So I just wanted to point that out. All right, and we got the same thing going on today, man. Hellenization. It's the whole plan is to get our people to act like damn Greeks. Like, what is this? What is this fascination? This fascination with being Greek? You know, like, I wanted to be with these boys when I was in college. I wanted to be an Omega because I felt like, all right, cool. You know, they doing their thing. They got women, they got cars, they got nice houses. I felt like they was doing their thing. But now I understand. Because think about it. You go to an all-black college, what the hell we got Greek fraternities at an all-black college for? Greek sororities at an all-black college. Why don't we have African sororities or African fraternities if we Africans? That was the question I always had. Did somebody say Salakia? All right, Khan. So yeah, this is the plot, man, and it's the exact same plot as before. If they can keep us off of our culture, then they got us, man. They got their foot on our neck. All right, and we know what First Maccabees 4:8 says about that. I'm not even gonna read it. All right, so we were scattered through the nations, man. Israelites in Greece. Some sources say that the Jews have lived in Greece long before the Second Temple era. Greek Judaism dates back over 2,300 years to the time of Alexander the Great. The earliest reference to a Greek Jew is an inscription dated 300 to 250 BC found in Oropos, a small coastal town between Athens and Boeotia, which refers to Moschos, son of Moskion, the Jew, who may have been a slave. Now, all of that is from a source. So this just goes to show you. But look at these places, man. This at the bottom left. This is Thessalonica. Bottom right is Galatia, and at the top is Ephesus. And what do we see the same in each one of these pictures? You see Roman style architecture. The Thessalonica picture is probably not the best picture, but if you look at other pictures, you'll see they built temples. It looked like damn Washington, D.C. and all these places. All right. We see here on this map, this is the map of Alexander the Greek's empire. So once again, Cappadocia, Phrygia, Pontus. Rome is in Italy. So Rome is right here, but it's right outside. We know that that's the Roman Empire. That hasn't popped up yet at this point. But look, Cyrene. Matter of fact, hey, let's pull Acts 2 again, because I'm gonna show you something in Acts 2. Because I think a lot of people we gloss over this a little bit, and we're just gonna hit verses I think 9 and 10.
All right, so Acts chapter 2 and verse 9. Parthians and Medes and Elamites and the dwellers in Mesopotamia and in Judea and Cappadocia.
Okay, so Cappadocia is on the map. Keep going.
And Pontus.
And Pontus is on the map. Keep going.
And Asia.
And Asia is all of this area right here to the right of Cappadocia. All of that was called Asia back then. Keep going.
And Phrygia.
Phrygia is right there. Keep going.
And Pamphylia.
Now Pamphylia is actually up here. I had to pull up a map for that. Hold on, let me see if I can get it real quick. See if I can get that map of Pamphylia. Oh no, Salakia. This is the map of Parthia. But this is a good map to have too. Hold on. All right, Khan. So right here, this map right here is a map of Parthia. You know what I'm saying? You see Parthia right here. And notice it says the Seleucid Empire. And Seleucus was one of the guys who took over after Alexander the damn Freak took over, or after he died. So once his kingdom was split up, the Seleucid Empire is down here. Parthia is right there. Okay? So I just wanted to show that. Let me go back to the presentation.
Lakia.
Khan, go ahead.
That is also the forefather of Antiochus Epiphanes, after whose the city Antioch, which is where the first people who were called Christians were named.
Right.
Just going out there.
Right. Antioch, that's right. And that's a very interesting connection, isn't it? Because a lot of people, a lot of breakdowns will show you that Antiochus Epiphanes was a antichrist. He was a type of antichrist. You know what I'm saying? He desecrated the temple. He did this, that, and the third. He caused the offerings to cease. All of that. He was the abomination of he was the abomination, or he caused the abomination of desolations. So that's very interesting that was the first place where our people was called Christians. That's a good thing to point out. All right, keep reading. And I think he was at verse 10.
Yeah. So in Phrygia and Pamphylia, in Egypt
down here,
in the parts of Libya,
right there,
about Cyrene,
and Cyrene's at the tip. Keep going.
And strangers of Rome.
That's right.
Jews and proselytes.
That's right. So
Crete.
now we can go ahead. We can start right there. So the Cretes and the Arabians, that's going to be on the right side, far right side of this map, which is not going to show up on this particular map. It would have been on an older map. But what I'm demonstrating is that every single place named in chapter 2 is one of the places that we were scattered to, man. That was not an accident. Okay. I'm going to keep rolling because I don't want to spend too much time on the maps. So, like I said before, after the death of Alexander the Greek, his empire split into 4 parts. And brothers need to know this, man. Ptolemy ruled Egypt. Seleucus ruled Persia and Syria. Antigonus ruled Macedonia and Greece. And the Attalids ruled Pergamum. So, this is an excellent breakdown of Daniel. If you go look at one of the oldest videos on this channel, on the SOT channel, you'll see when they was breaking down Daniel, and they was dealing with Alexander the Great. They was dealing with the beast. They was dealing with, you know what I'm saying, the little horn. All of that is in that breakdown. That's an excellent video. All right, so Greek rule in the region. So the Library of Alexandria. Adawan told me to put this in here. Adawan Lel, because this is actually a key part too of why we lost our heritage and how we lost our language, how we lost our manuscripts, how we lost access to a lot of our scholars. Once again, I put my source here at the bottom. So if y'all want to go look at it, you can just Google that and it should come right up. So the Library of Alexandria was built in Alexandria, Egypt, one of the largest and best funded international libraries in the ancient world under Ptolemy. Estimated that between 40 and 400,000 scrolls were preserved here. It contained thousands of scrolls of Greek, Hebrew, and Mesopotamian literature and art and artifacts of ancient Egypt. Now, let me show you something about this line right here. It said it contained thousands of scrolls of Greek, Hebrew, and Mesopotamian literature. If that library was still standing today, we would have everything we need to reconstruct our ancient language. That's how profound that would have been. Because think about it. Mesopotamian literature, if you study language, you'll know that Hebrew is a Semitic language, right? And it's a part of a Semitic language group. There are like 10 to 12 other languages within that language group that are very close to Hebrew. And we would have had access to all of that. So we could have broke down, oh man, so this word actually means this. And our etymology would have went deeper and further. But the library actually burnt down. It was a part of the Museum, Shrine of Muses. And scholars were not 100% on who burned the library, but many believe it was Caesar. Okay. Khan, go ahead.
That goes into when the Most High told us that He would erase the remembrance of us from among men.
That's right.
Deals with that as well. Any major kind of artifact that could prove any kind of miraculous event in the scriptures, Most High just wiped it clean.
That's right, man. That's right. And you know what? I chalk that up to faith because I feel like a lot of the times we be wanting everything to be proved with hard facts where it's easy to believe and easy to understand. But we got to remember that we under these curses, and the Most High got a remnant that He dealing with, and He put it in our spirit, man, that we believe this stuff. Some of this stuff is hard to believe. Some of this stuff is hard to believe, but He put it in our spirit so that we would believe it anyway. You know what I'm saying? And He put it in other people's spirit where they can't believe it. So that's kind of how I chalk it up. That's right. I'm gonna pull a precept for that too. You was gonna say something?
I was gonna say it's a lot.
All right, Khan, go ahead.
Would that be a precept for? So would Jeremiah 8:1 be a precept for that?
Let's see.
That's like it. That's one of the kings and their bones. Yeah.
So like I think bones could also be like twofold as well, because like your bones could be the things that you've done or your accomplishments. Like when we say like I made my bones, or I made my bones doing this or that, like history as well. So I don't know. Maybe I could be even in too deep to that.
Khan. Well, you know what? In this particular passage, I would say that this is literal bones. But even with that being said, I could definitely see that. Because think about it. The Most High, I'm gonna read Jeremiah 8:1 first. Let me read it. So at that time, saith the Most High, they shall bring out the bones of the kings of Judah, and the bones of his princes, and the bones of the priests, and the bones of the prophets, and the bones of the inhabitants of Jerusalem out of their graves. All right. So this right here is dealing with the way that the Most High chose to punish these kings, man. Now think about it. If He was choosing to punish them in that way, to bring out their bones and to bring out this, that, and the third, so they wouldn't be remembered, and He would wipe off their memory off the face of this earth, then yeah, you damn right. He could definitely do that. Like this could be symbolic for how He did us, man. Because a lot of our history was wiped away, erased, whatever you want to call it, man. So yeah, I could definitely see it like that. You was gonna say something now, Tali?
Yeah, I was gonna say, just think about it. They find all these artifacts in Egypt, which is right next door to Israel. They find all these artifacts for Assyria, which is right next door to Israel. They can find Moabite stone and Edomite figurine, right? They can find
right.
What else? They can find artifacts in Babylon. You know, all kind of stuff in Babylon. But when it comes to Israel, it's not too much they can find.
Right.
Why is that?
Right. That's the Most High, man. them curses. Hey, you know what? Them curses on us was so deep. The Most High actually cursed the land as well. So let's think about that. Your land that you live on is very important, not only for agriculture and not only for, you know what I'm saying, just everyday living, but it's very important for historical archaeology. If your land get dry, what was one of the curses? The Most High said that the land was going to be dry, and He was going to cause the rain to stop. So what happens to fossils? What happens to archaeological finds like clay and pottery shards and things like that that's in the earth? They dry out. They get too brittle to be sustained over that period of time. You know, these curses that the Most High did, man. I'm telling you, it was really a masterful work how He did it, and only His people are gonna believe what they're supposed to believe, man. Because this stuff is difficult to put together. You know, I almost look at it sometimes when I be trying to explain certain things to my family. I be thinking to myself, like, you know what? I just made that plain as day. But they're not going to understand it. They're not going to see it this way because this is something that the spirit got to open a person up for, man. If the spirit don't open them up, they're not going to get it. That's the bottom line. All right. So I'm going to get back on this. So Greek rule in the region, right? You got the Library of Alexandria we just talked about. Following the destruction of the library, many ancient documents were lost forever. In an attempt to centralize and empower the library at Alexandria, the Greeks brought in scholars from many previous city-states as historians. Hey, now you can look this up. You can look this up. This is on BritannicaAsWell.com. So you can look this up. But what they did was they gathered 70 elders. They took 70 of our top scholars, and I'm about to read that. They took 70 of our top scholars and brought them to the Library of Alexandria. And they really instituted one of the world's first university settings. You know what I'm saying? Like you had a great library in Timbuktu that everybody know about. You had a great library in Babylon that a lot of people know about. And then you also had the great one in Alexandria. And so they took scholars from various different places throughout the world, following the example that Timbuktu did. And they brought them to the universe or to the library, and they were full-time scholars. So they spent their life breaking down passages or whatever in their native tongue and giving the sense to the people. It was like the modern day university, but it was in the ancient world. All right. The Septuagint is the very first translation of the Hebrew Bible that was made into Greek. So we never had a Greek New Testament until the Septuagint came around. All right. It was probably as early as the 3rd century BC. This means that 300 years before the turn of the millennium, or the turn of, you know what I'm saying, before we get into the ADs and all that, 300 years before that, people were speaking Greek. Israelites were speaking Greek. So much so that they had to translate the Bible into Greek. And the so-called Septuagint translation of the Hebrew Bible into Greek is traditionally dated back to the reign of Ptolemy. All right. I wanted to read this. It's commonly called the Septuagint from the Latin word for 70, because according to the traditional account of its origin, preserved in the so-called letter of Aristeas, it has 72 translators brought from Jerusalem to Alexandria. All right. So think about that, man. I mean, you know, we a lot of the conscious community talks about the rape of Africa and how when the Israelites left Africa, how it jacked up their economy because the people they took from the land was so important to the development of the land itself. And think about it. We just lost 70 top scholars so that they could send them to Alexandria and write the Septuagint and do all these other things. Meanwhile, we suffering. We lost our top scholars back in Israel. You know what I'm saying? These are things that we still deal with today. The smartest people of our community, they don't deal with us. They on damn TV trying to be a political pundit and trying to convince you to vote. They on TV trying to convince you to do something that don't got nothing to do with the Most High. This is what our top scholars are doing. Once again, nothing new under the sun. We have Judith, 2nd Maccabees, Wisdom of Solomon, and Sirach because of the Septuagint. That's why the prologue to Sirach talks about how anything translated out of its original tongue is not as powerful because it was, you know what I'm saying, it was not originally written in our original tongue. All right, and we can hit Isaiah 28 and 11 as a precept for this. All right,
I got it.
All right, Khan.
It's Isaiah chapter 28 and verse 11. For with stammering lips and another tongue will he speak to this people.
That's right. So the Most High, and matter of fact, the Most High did this in order that some might not come to the truth. And that's difficult to understand. That's difficult to understand. Let me break off real quick and let me get the sense on that. Let me break off, man. All right. So what I'm going to do right here is I want to look at, let's go to Matthew 13 and 13. The Most High confused our language so that some would not come to the truth.
All right. Matthew chapter 13 and verse 13. Therefore speak I to them in parables, because they seeing see not, and hearing they hear not, neither do they understand.
Okay. Matter of fact, jump up to verse 10. Read verse 10 again. Read verse 10 and then read 13.
Okay, so this is Matthew chapter 13 and verse 10. And the disciples came and said unto him, why speakest thou unto them in parables?
So the disciples came up to Yahushua and said, why are you speaking to them in parables? This don't make no sense. They're not understanding what you're saying. And in verse 13, he says what?
Therefore speak I unto them in parables, because they seeing see not, and hearing they hear not, neither do they understand.
So basically, in King's English, what he said was, I'm speaking to them in parables because I know they're not gonna get it. Ain't that what Isaiah just said? Isaiah 28 and 11. He said, for with stammering lips will I speak to this people. So listen, man, this language thing has always been a stumbling stone for us. It's always been a stumbling stone for us. We saw it foreshadowed when in Genesis with the Tower of Babel, right? We saw it foreshadowed there where the Most High confused the people by scattering their languages. Okay, so once again, we always got to come back and understand the origin of these problems. The origin of our lack of understanding of the Hebrew language is because the Most High put that curse there, man. So when we go in to try to break it down, it's some brothers who will tell you not to break down Hebrew. Okay, but it's my experience and it's my understanding that we got to get to the root languages in order to truly deal with what's in this Bible. Because we see here that the Most High gave us stammering lips so that they would not understand. All right, so I'm gonna keep moving. All right. All right, calm. All right, so Greek rule in the region. Now, this is what I'm gonna deal with, a survey of the New Testament, this book right here. Under the Seleucid Empire, Antiochus Epiphanes replaced the Jewish high priest Onias III with his brother Jason. And Jason was a Hellenizer who began to make Jerusalem into a Greek-style city. We saw pictures of that already. No need to go into it. But let me go to page 27 real quick and show you something. Okay. All right. Hey, and Naphtali, go ahead and pull First Maccabees 7 and 13 real quick. So 2 points to hit for this. This is good. This is good stuff to know when you're dealing with the New Testament and where certain characters came from and where certain people groups came from. Page 27 of a survey of the New Testament. It says Antiochus IV or Epiphanes replaced the Jewish high priest Onias III with Onias's brother Jason, a Hellenizer who started making Jerusalem into a Greek-style city. A gymnasium and an adjoining tract were built. There, to the outrage of the strict Jews, Jewish lads exercised in Greek fashion, nude. This is why we call them the damn Greek freak, man, because this is what they do. And pay attention to what's going on now with wrestling, with the NFL, and with the NBA. You know, back in the day when they had them high shorts on, it's like, yo, I don't want to be guarding nobody with these shorts on, man. But this is how the Greeks get down. Like they would have had you basically butt naked with a damn loincloth on, wrestling another grown man. This is how they get down. And so that stuff was starting to happen in Jerusalem. Well, we know what the scriptures say about uncovering the nakedness of your brother, man. So all of these things that we was doing back then, everything was off. It was all off. Track races open with invocations to pagan deities. So before they did, now what's the difference? They started their track races with an invocation to their deity. What's the difference? We say the Pledge of Allegiance now. What's the difference? If it's Christmas or Thanksgiving or something junk like that, they giving out a damn turkey at the end of the damn football game. It's the same thing, bro. Such Hellenization also included attendance at Greek theaters, the adoption of Greek dress, surgery to disguise circumcision when exercising in the nude. So if you was exercising and they had you out here just being out here and you ain't had no clothes on, oh man, don't use him because he's circumcised. And then after a while, they came up with a procedure to reverse the circumcision. Now, I don't even want to know what they was doing to do that. But we seeing the type of things they was doing, dog. They was going to great extents to make you lose your culture, to make you lose your heritage. All right. Now, check this out. This is, oh, Khan, go ahead.
That sounds like how Christians today, they call us Judaizers because we teach the commandment. If let's say during the time of the Greeks, if somebody was, working out naked and they were circumcised, it may compel the other brothers to, go back to that custom. So they were trying to prevent that.
Right. That's right. And that's kind of the same thing you see today. That's a good point. Like you see everybody on TV, every rapper, every basketball player, every NFL player tatted up. I can't find a nigga without tattoos now. You know what I'm saying? Everybody got tattoos. I got tattoos. Everybody got tattoos. So what your kids gonna see when they watch TV or whatever the case? What your family members gonna do when they become of age? They're gonna leave the house, they're gonna get tatted up. I mean, it's just like something that you do now. Hey, Khan, go ahead. Somebody said Salakia.
Salakia. Not a brag. I don't have any tattoos. But, no, the word gymnasium, when it says that they built a place of exercise, the word gymnasium comes from the word gymnos, which literally means to work out naked or work out in the nude. Just throwing that out there.
Damn. That's wild, man. And that brings this to mind. When you see these bodybuilders, these big swole dudes standing up there with a damn bikini on. Right? And Esau will he will use every chance he gets to lie to you and be like, oh, well, we just looking at every single muscle and we're making sure that he didn't miss this muscle. Okay. This is Greek culture, man. Anybody who want to argue that, you're gonna have a hard time arguing that because this is Greek culture all day. I got one more piece on this, and this is gonna lead into the last portions, and then we're gonna open it up for questions. So Jews who opposed this paganization of their culture were called Hasidians. Hasidians, you want to write that down. And Hasidians means pious people. It's roughly the equivalent to what we would call Puritans in Christianity. All right. The Hasidians. Now, throughout the Bible, the word Hasidian is used differently. It's spelled differently, but it's always the same word. Hit them with 1 Maccabees 7:13 real quick.
First Maccabees chapter 7 and verse 13. Now the Assyrians were the first among the children of Israel that sought peace of them.
So the Hasidians show up in the Maccabees. All right. And they show up in other places as well. But let's find out who these Hasidians were. The religiously, all right, so now I'm on page 30 of a background of the New Testament. Once again, like I said, excellent book to get, man. Excellent book. The religiously minded Hasidians who split into the Pharisees and the Essenes. So the Pharisees and the Essenes come from the group called the Hasidians. So I remember asking myself, I was like, yo, where these Pharisees come from? Like, we like, you know, a lot of the times we kind of lean on the fact that, okay, after they left Babylon, you know, they had to establish their own priesthood type of structure where they could teach the people this, that, and the third. And then they, you know, of course, they adopted the idea of synagogues. They did all of that after they left Babylon. But we don't have a historical source that explicitly points out where the Pharisees come from. Well, right here, we see that the Pharisees come from the Hasidians. And the Hasidians come from resisting paganism and resisting Hellenization. So at the beginning, man, the Pharisees wasn't the bad guys. The Hasidians weren't the bad guys. They was the dudes that was like, yo, we not doing none of this. You're gonna have to kill us. Okay. And I'm gonna show you something. Let's keep reading. It says, and the Essenes. Some of the Essenes produced the Dead Sea Scrolls from Qumran. The aristocratic and politically minded supporters of the Hasmonean king priests became the Sadducees. So the aristocratic and the higher status people of the nation who supported the Hasmoneans, they became the Sadducees. Okay. So, and all of that is background information that you can't get. You have to go into historical documentation to find that stuff out. Whoever says Salakia, go ahead.
Like, you said it's Hasidians?
Right. So you have the Hasidians, but remember when you phonetically spell a word in Hebrew and you transliterate it, it may come out as Assyrians. So
okay, that's how it is.
Right. So when you look at it in the Maccabees, it says Assyrians.
Right. So and you said it means pious.
Right, like the pious people or the people who are, you know, they're strong in their beliefs, basically.
So that sounds like Hasidic.
Ah, interesting.
A lot, you know the Hasidic, the so-called Hasidic Jews, they're very what they call them, I think they call them like ultra orthodox.
Right. Wow, yeah. That's good. That's good. Yeah, I never made that connection. That's good though. And that's very, I mean, it's obviously from the same root word.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I'm gonna look into that. That's good. Somebody else said Salakia?
I was saying Salakia because Naphtali is actually spot on. The Assyrians, or in the Hebrew, it would be Kasadim or Kasadayim. Those are the actual Assyrians. When you look in the Compact Bible Dictionary, they are supposedly who also wrote the book of Enoch. And that's where that Jewish doctrine came from. When you look, it says that the Kasadim or the Hasidians, that's the same group of people or whatever. And it says, or by the Pharisees. So I'm wondering if that's what caused that split between the Pharisees and the Essenes in the first place. But that's a whole nother subject for a whole nother day.
Right.
So he's spot on with that.
Nah, that's a good find. And it's interesting that they're the same people that are said to have something to do with the book of Enoch. We don't even deal with the book of Enoch. But them being a part of that gives me more reason not to deal with the book of Enoch. So you know what I'm saying? So, but nah, that's a good find. I'm gonna look into all of that. So Roman influence. I'm gonna hit this piece and then we're gonna be done. But basically, Rome, we know that Rome had a great influence in the ancient world. Rome and Herod in the 5th century BCE, they brought republican government to Rome. Octavian or Augustus became the first emperor of Rome. The Roman emperors influenced most of the persecution in the New Testament. So when you look at persecution of Paul, James, you know what I'm saying? All these people throughout the New Testament, Peter, all of these people, it was all at the hand of the Romans under different emperors at various times in different parts of the, you know what I'm saying, different parts of the empire. Herod was an Edomite. A lot of people don't know that. You know what I'm saying? If you watch Israelite videos, 9 times out of 10, you know that. But a lot of people don't know that Herod was an Edomite. He gained political favor from Rome and then returned to the city of Jerusalem, backed by Rome, and took the crown. He was never supposed to be there. The fact that he's an Edomite shows that he was never supposed to be there. Plus, the people hated him. But when he came in and he was backed by Rome, it was nothing nobody could do. He's the one who built the lavish second temple, or I'm not going to say he built the second temple. He renovated the second temple. Okay, and that's documented also in the survey of the New Testament. But he put the Roman style pillars on there. He decked it out. It was literally one of the greatest things of the ancient world. But Yahushua came and said, none of these stones will be left one upon another. And notice, when you go to Israel today, none of those stones are left one upon another. You know, and Esau would try to tell you that damn Western Wall was a part of the temple. But that's for another day. So this is the Roman Empire. And once again, you can see how far. Hey, mute your phone. All right, Khan. But you can see how far west the Roman Empire reaches. You know what I'm saying? Over here, where it's called Gallia. Okay, you got Italia, Sicilia. You know what I'm saying? All of this stuff. All of this stuff. Now, I want to show you this. I just want to point this out real quick. Notice how this was called Africa. That's called Africa right there on a map of the Roman Empire. And this is called Egyptus. So this is one of the origins of the word Egypt. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a lot of origin stories of the word Egypt, but this is one of them. You know what I'm saying? But just showing you a lot of different things on this map. So this is the Roman Empire. All right. Roman army. People that were not Romans were able to gain citizenship in various ways. I wanted to point this out. A lot of people have a dispute and they want to argue that Cornelius was not an Israelite. But their only reason for saying that is because he was in the Italian band and he was a part of the Roman army. Christopher B. Zeichmann, the Roman army in the New Testament, on page 208, he tells you that joining the military was a surefire way to gain citizenship as a Roman citizen. All right. I'm also going to show you something. I'm also going to pull this up. All right, Khan. So this document right here is a different document. It's not by that dude that I just named off. But this one is by a dude named Miles Lavin, The Army and the Spread of Roman Citizenship, okay? This paper draws on recent advances in our knowledge and a new analytical method to quantify the number of soldiers and their children who received Roman citizenship. How can a Roman soldier receive citizenship? Because he wasn't already a citizen. I'm going to show you something else. Service in the Roman army is the best attested of the routes by which provincials acquired Roman citizenship. So this was one of the easiest ways to become a Roman or to get that stamp Roman on your, you know what I'm saying, on your ID card, basically. You wanted to be a Roman during that time. You wanted to be a Roman during that time. If you wasn't thinking like if you was not really focused on keeping your culture as an Israelite, this, that, and the third, you was just being out here in the world, just trying to live your best life and stuff, then you wanted to be a Roman. Because think about it, they had the greatest everything. You know what I'm saying? They had the biggest army. They was undefeated at the time. You wanted to be a Roman. So people would go and join the Roman army just to gain Roman citizenship. This dude right here estimated that the army created between 3 and 5 million new citizens over the first 2 centuries. Look at that, man. And Graham Webster envisaged 3 million each century. Okay, these are all estimations. They don't know how many exact people. The practice of granting citizenship to foreigners who fought for Rome goes back to the Republic, but these were discretionary grants by magistrates, the antecedents of Vertane grants by the emperors. This probably remained the norm even after Augustus reorganized the non-citizen forces into a permanent formation. So when you start talking about, oh, he was in the army and he had to be a, you know what I'm saying? He had to be a Roman, or he had to be a Gentile. That's false, man. Millions of people gained their Roman citizenship just by joining the army. I had something else in here I wanted to read too, but I think I'm just gonna skip it because I can't find it.
It's like it.
Come on, go ahead.
It's just to land me back. They do that in America too.
Right.
When I was in the service and going through boot camp, I met a dude from where was he from? He was from Nepal. You know, a little Moabite looking dude. But he was telling me like he joined just so he could get citizenship, so he could get into school and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, they do that in America too. So it's not something that's just so out there that people can't understand. You can see it today.
Right. And I just wanted to pull it back up. I saw somebody in the chat asking what document was it. So this is called The Army and the Spread of Roman Citizenship by a dude named Miles Lavin. I can't remember what the credentials are. These are all his sources. So don't, you know what I'm saying? Don't believe it on account of him saying it. Believe it on account of him, you know what I'm saying, doing his job with the resources. That's all his sources. He probably got 200 sources at the bottom. All right. University of St. Andrews. So this was a university document that was published. It's an abstract, so most likely it's some type of dissertation paper or or something like that. So all right, let me stop that. Let's jump back in here and finish this out. Okay, so hey, don't let nobody get away with that, man. Just because somebody's in the Roman army or something like that. Acts 10:1. Let's go ahead and hit that. Just because somebody in the Roman army, that's not a surefire they a Gentile. You know what I'm saying? That's not flying no more.
All right. Acts chapter 10 and verse 1. There was a certain man in Caesarea called Cornelius, a centurion of the band called the Italian band.
That's right. And read verse 2 as well.
A devout man, and one that feared God with all his house, which gave much alms to the people and prayed to God always.
There we go. All right. Let's hit Luke 7:2. I was just talking about it earlier today, how Luke is really a historical, you know what I'm saying? The dude, whoever wrote Luke, whether his name was Luke or not, he was a historian, you know what I'm saying? And he was really, really thorough with his documentation.
So this is Luke.
Let's start at 1 and then hit 2.
Okay. This is Luke chapter 7 and verse 1. Now when he had ended all his sayings in the audience of the people, he entered into Capernaum. And a certain centurion's servant, who was dear unto him, was sick and ready to die.
Okay, so a lot of people will read this and say, oh, it's a centurion. He's a Gentile right off the bat. Okay, keep reading.
And when he heard of Jesus, he sent unto him the elders of the Jews, beseeching him that he would come and heal his servant.
Okay, you can keep going. We're going to stop at 5.
Okay. And when they came to Jesus, they besought him instantly, saying that he was worthy for whom he should do this. For he loveth our nation, and he has built us a synagogue.
So just very, very strange language there. You know what I'm saying? Why would a random Gentile love your nation and build you a synagogue just out of the goodness of his heart when his people are there oppressing you? And that's what they do night and day, is oppress you. And now you read this story, the only clue that you have that causes you to believe he's a Gentile is the word centurion. That's the only clue. So just because these people were a part of the Roman military does not mean that they were actually Romans. All right. Then you also I think this is the last slide, but the Roman architectural revolution. So what the Roman architectural revolution is after the Romans came through with their style of architecture, they carried it everywhere throughout the world. And it was so influential that even to this day, you find their, monuments styled after their architecture. Okay, so this is an ancient version of it. This is another ancient version of it in the ancient world. And then here's a modern day version of it at the U.S. Capitol. And, you know what I'm saying? You go to Washington, D.C. I went to Washington, D.C. last month or earlier this month. I can't remember. But I went to Washington, D.C., man. That place is Rome, dog. It ain't no doubt about it. That whole place is Rome. Everything in there, it looks like temples and monuments and damn, you know what I'm saying, stone and marble and all this stuff everywhere. The whole place. So the Romans had a great influence even until this day. Just imagine the type of influence they had during the time the Bible was being written. Okay, so I wanted to close out with this piece right here. The Israelite diaspora was in every part of the known world during the time the New Testament was written. Each captivity further scattered them to the uttermost parts of their respective kingdoms, and our people assimilated as time went by. The result is a world where Israelites are living among the nations, and in many cases, they are indistinguishable apart from family memory and oral traditions. Israel became a melting pot for many nations, modeled and influenced by the Greeks and governed by the oppressive force of the Romans. Many of the places noted in the New Testament are from locations that can be found on maps included in this presentation. Now, I'm going to finish up with Genesis 48 and 14, and I'll get Matthew 28.
And 14.
And just read through 19.
Okay. This is Genesis chapter 48 and verse 14. And Israel stretched out his right hand and laid it upon Ephraim's head, who was the younger, and his left hand upon Manasseh's head, guiding his hands wittingly, for Manasseh was the firstborn. And he blessed Joseph and said, God before whom my fathers Abraham and Isaac did walk, the God which fed me all my life long unto this day, the angel which redeemed me from all evil, bless the lads, and let my name be named on them, and the name of my fathers Abraham and Isaac, and let them grow into a multitude in the midst of the earth.
Look at that.
You said the 19. That's it.
Khan, what you read was good.
16. I finished 16.
All right. So what we see here is Ephraim and Manasseh becoming a multitude, man. We see this in 48 verse 19, where it says, but truly his younger brother shall be greater than he, and his seed shall become a multitude of nations. So, hey, this is the groundwork that's being laid before you get to Revelation. So that's the backdrop. That's a promise that the Most High gave to the patriarchs at the beginning of the Bible. Then you get to the last book of the Bible in Revelation that we read earlier, where it says, and there was an innumerable multitude standing before the throne. So That's what we dealing with, man. We dealing with the Most High's people being scattered throughout all nations, and we became multiple nations over that time through assimilation, through losing our culture, Jeremiah 17:4, and various other methods. But the time has come where the Most High is going to gather us back, man. And this is why Yahushua said what he said in Matthew 28:19. Go ye therefore and teach all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and the Son and of the Holy Ghost, teaching them to observe all things whatsoever I have commanded you. And lo, I am with you always, even until the end of the world. So that's the backdrop of the New Testament. Okay. So I just wanted to put that out there. If anybody has any questions regarding the message, we're going to open it up for the questions regarding the message first. I actually saw a question in the chat, but I'm going to wait. The questions on the phone take precedence over the questions in the chat.
Salakia.
Khan, go ahead.
Hold on. I had one more precept, and I thought you were going to bring it out. I didn't hear it. Can I bring it out real quick?
Khan, go ahead.
It's dealing with that multitude. It says, this is the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 3 and verse 16. And it says, and unto him thou gavest Isaac, and unto Isaac also thou gavest Jacob and Esau. As for Jacob, thou didst choose him to thee, and put by Esau. And so Jacob became a great multitude. So that's, I see that, and I also see that as that great multitude in Revelation 7:9.
That's right. That's right. That's an excellent point. And matter of fact, since you brought it out, Second Ezra actually gives you a lot of keys to that revelation. Let's get Second Ezra 2 and 42 as well. Let me get that one.
I can bring it out because I'm already right there.
All right, Khan, you can go ahead.
This is the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 2 and verse 42. As I, Ezra, saw upon the Mount Zion a great people whom I could not number, and they all praised the Lord with song.
That's
and
right.
in the midst of the
No, you good. Keep going.
And in the midst of them, there was a young man of high stature, taller than all the rest, and upon every one of their heads he set crowns, and was more exalted, which I marveled at greatly.
That's right.
So I asked the angel and said, Sir, what are these? He answered and said unto me, These be they that have put off the mortal clothing and put on the immortal, and have confessed the name of God, and now are they crowned and receive palms.
That's right. That's right. Now let's stop. He said they receive palms. Let me go back to Revelation 7 and 9. And this I beheld, and lo, a great multitude which no man could number, of all nations and kindreds and people and tongues, stood before the throne and before the Lamb, clothed with white robes and palms in their hand. So these are obvious precepts. Okay, these are good precepts. That's good. I appreciate it.
I on the
bar. Anybody else have any questions regarding the message, or any questions regarding the people that was scattered, as far as some of the stuff we talked about on the lesson? All right, Khan. I think that's it for that. Let me make sure it ain't Any good questions in the chat before we move on? Okay, I don't see any. All right, so now we'll open the floor up to other questions. If y'all brothers want to ask some other questions, we can do some edification real quick. Let's see what y'all got.
Salaki, Adamar.
Khan, go ahead.
Adamar, you put up a slide that says scattered through the nations. There wasn't a reference at the bottom of that, and I'm wondering, is that slide from a book called Scattered Amongst the Nations? Photographs and stories of the world's most isolated Jewish communities?
Let me double check. I don't think it is, because all of the points that I put up, if I took it from an external source, I made sure to cite it. So I named it Scattered Through the Nations, but I don't think that, I think the name may just be similar.
That'll work.
Yeah, Con. I think you're talking about this slide right here. Yeah. All right, Con. Anybody else got any questions regarding anything? We can get into it.
So I named it Scattered Through the Nations.
I'm sorry, say it again. Say it again. All right, Con. I guess he fell off or something. All right, I'm gonna pull this precept real quick. Let's pull Acts 16 and 12 real quick.
All right, this is Acts chapter 16 and verse 12. Whereupon, as I went to Damascus with authority and commission from the chief priest, at midday, O king, I saw in the way a light from heaven above the brightness of the sun shining round about me. And them with
hold up. That's Acts 16 and 12?
Yeah, 16?
Yeah, Con, 16 and 12.
Yeah.
No, I don't think it is.
No. 16. So, all right.
Con, there you go.
Acts 16 and verse 12. And from thence to Philippi, which is the chief city of the most of that part of Macedonia, and a colony, and we were in that city abiding certain days.
That's right. So I wanted to point that out just as a precursor for the end of the lesson, because Acts 16 and 12 says that Philippi, which is the chief city of that part of Macedonia, and a colony. So let's look up the word colony real quick, and then I'm gonna get to Brother A1's question, because Brother A1 had a question. But I wanted to show the word colony real quick. Hold on. All right, so this ain't gonna be no scholarly, you know what I'm saying, breakdown. It's just gonna be a definition. So the word colony right here. It says a country or area under the full or partial political control of another country, typically a distant one, and occupied by settlers from that country. Now, that's the first definition. Let's look at the second definition. A group of people of one nationality or ethnic group living in a foreign city or country. So our understanding of the Israelites has to be on point, because the word, they're saying that Philippi was a colony, and we understand that everybody that they wrote to in the Bible was an Israelite. And right here it tells us that a colony is a group of people from a certain nationality who was displaced, and they live somewhere else in a different land under the control of a different country. So I just wanted to demonstrate that goes to show you that, hey, nobody can't pull nothing from the book of Philippians. They never go into the book of Philippians anyway, but they're not gonna pull that. They're not gonna pull that. I've never heard a Christian apologetic go to Philippians for nothing. So, especially not to debate us. All right, Khan. So, hey, A1, what is your question? Please repost your question because I can't see it. If somebody else sees it, just say Salakia and read it off, and then we'll go ahead and deal with it.
Salakia, other one.
Khan, go ahead.
A1 squad says, blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, I want a breakdown.
Khan. So I see that portion of his question, but I don't know what breakdown he wants. I need to know what question or what breakdown A1 wants to have. Okay. And while we're waiting on that,
Salakia.
Khan, go ahead.
Malak, he basically asking you to prove for the Israelites are according to the Bible. He's a scoffer. He's on, every time we're on, he gets on and he asks crazy questions.
Okay. Khan. So this is how we're gonna do this. Because I think that that's a great question, but it's difficult to answer from a random perspective. Like, if you want me to prove it archaeologically, that's one question. If you want me to prove it historically, that's another question. If you want me to prove it through prophecy, that's a whole nother question. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull up actual sources. So give me a quick second.
Salakia, other
Khan, what you got?
He says, kind of African brother get a breakdown. So I think
Salakia, look, mute your phones if you're not speaking. We're getting feedback on the class. If you're not speaking, mute your phone. All right, go ahead, brother.
Khan.
I think he's trying to say that because of that, maybe that understanding, maybe Africans are not included in some way. But, that's not what the understanding is. I'm not mistaken.
Okay, Khan. That's an excellent question. So, if you from the continent of Africa, can you be excluded from being an Israelite? La, I can't just say just because you live in Africa, you can't be an Israelite. We just read multiple scriptures where all people from all nations and tongues. We just pulled up maps that showed people in Africa, in Egypt, in Libya, in Cyrene. All of these people was Israelites. The Most High said he was going to call his people from beyond the rivers of Cush, or beyond. Let me pull that precept because I don't want to butcher it.
Zephaniah 3.
Zephaniah 3 and 10. That's right. So let me get that real quick. I'm gonna show you something at the same time. Okay. Just bear with me, Israel. I wasn't prepared to do that. All right, Khan. So right here, you see this map. All right, so you see this map right here. Israel is up here. Cush is down here. The rest of this, all the way over here, which you can't see. You can see it better in this map. Cush is here. All the rest of that is what they would call Africa. All right, so all the rest of that is Africa. So let me pull that. You said Zephaniah 3 and 10?
It's 3 and start at 9.
All right, come. I ain't got it yet. Hold on. If you have it, you can go ahead and pull it while I'm getting there.
All right. This is Zephaniah chapter 3 and verse 9. For then will I turn to the people a pure language, and they that they may call upon the name of the Lord to serve him with one consent. From beyond the rivers of Ethiopia, my suppliant, even the daughter of my dispersed, shall bring mine offering.
That's right. That's right. So I showed you maps of Cush, but Ethiopia is actually further north. So Ethiopia, from beyond the rivers of Ethiopia, once you get beyond the rivers of Ethiopia, you're in Africa. That's the point of that. So can we sit back and say that if you live on the continent of Africa, you can't be an Israelite? We can't say that. Also, we teach that during the dispersion after 70 AD, that our people traveled through Africa in various different ways, in various different forms. We ended up, the majority of us ended up, well, the majority of Judah and some of the other tribes, we ended up on the western coast of Africa, okay? At that point, we was dispersed again throughout the nations. So we don't teach that if you are African, you just can't be an Israelite. We don't teach that. I don't think the Bible teaches that.
Shalakia.
Come.
We also read in Acts chapter 2 where it mentioned how people were in Libya and in Cyrene. Both of those places are in North Africa. So even during the time of the apostles, we had people in Africa.
Right. That's right. And if you read the New Testament, you'll see that a man named Simon of Cyrene was actually said to carry the cross of Yahushua, or the stake of Yahushua. Okay. In Cyrene, you know, if you Google a person from Cyrene, they're gonna be black. They're gonna look like an African by modern day standards. You know what I'm saying? So, all right. So this right here is some is the Los Lunas Decalogue stone. Okay. Los Lunas Decalogue inscription is an abridged version of the Decalogue of 10 Commandments, carved into a flat face of a large boulder resting on the side of a hidden mountain near Los Lunas, New Mexico, about 30 miles south of Albuquerque. The language is Hebrew, and the script, Salakia, and the script is the old Hebrew alphabet, Paleo. Okay, if you look at it, you can tell that's not modern day Hebrew. Now, this is a question, and Sakari did an excellent video on this, and some other things they did. But how do people in New Mexico get their hands on the Hebrew language? How does this happen? And this is, I can't remember if they dated this one. I specifically grabbed this one because I wanted to make sure that it was one that was well attested, and we could find it multiple places throughout, you know, archaeology and scientific research. So if we want to prove who the Israelites are, that's one easy way to do it. Okay. Another easy way to do it, I'm going to show you one more.
Shalakia, other one.
Khan, go ahead.
I think he says he understands. So
okay. All praises. I was gonna pull out one more. I just gotta find it and make sure. This one I actually did a class on this one before, and this one's excellent, man. I feel like every Israelite need to know this. Every Israelite need to know this. All right, so this right here is from Political Psychology Journal. Okay, Advances in Political Psychology. You can find this one very easily by Googling it. I have a JSTOR account. I also have a EBSCO host account. All of those things through my university. And so what I do is I collect these. I search things like this, scholarly articles, and I collect them because we're gonna need some of these things when some of these high-level scoffers show up. So it's just good to have. But this is from volume 37, supplement 1 from 2016. Okay, I want to show you this: ideology in post-colonial society. Now, these are two things that we just explained happened to the Israelites. I'm just gonna go straight down to the meat and potatoes. Two things that we already explained during this presentation that happened to the Israelites without a shadow of a doubt, and things that we still deal with today. The first one is called historical negation. It's the belief that historical injustices experienced by indigenous people in the colonial era are irrelevant in contemporary society. So what does that mean? Basically, all that crap you went through in the past, that's old stuff. You know what I'm saying? My ancestors wasn't slave masters. I don't see why you still talking about slavery. Get over it. It don't matter no more. They don't understand that those historical things that happened to us built the framework by which they can build their kingdom. It also built the framework of the prison that we currently live in. So simultaneously, it put them on top and it put us on bottom. That's what the history of America has done. That's what the history of Jamaica has done. That's what the history of South Africa has done. That's what the history of Brazil has done. Name a place where the Israelites are at. That's what the hell happened. That's what happened all throughout the Assyrian captivity, the Babylonian captivity, and that's also what happened throughout Greek captivity. These people, Herod, we just talked about Herod being a damn Edomite. He came in with the Romans on his back, took over our damn city, and had our people serving him. And then if you wasn't laying down the right way, he was putting you to death. What happened when he was trying to find Yahushua? He was trying to find Yahushua. Matter of fact, let me pull that. He wanted to have all of the babies killed because he felt like he was going to lose his throne to Yahushua. Okay? So I'm just showing you different things of how we connect psychologically now to the Israelites. Other people can't connect like this. Now, it's certain people, you know what I'm saying? Esau done went around the world and colonized every damn body. We know this. But particularly what he did with the Israelites is remarkable, to say the least. All right. Let me pull this real quick. Okay. That's a great joy. No, it's going to be here. It's going to be here. It's going to be Matthew. Come on, go ahead.
There it is. You look for Matthew 2 and 16.
Right.
13.
Con. And I'm going to start at 13. So Matthew 2 and 13. And when they were departed, behold, the angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a dream, saying, arise and take the young child and his mother and flee into Egypt, and be thou there until I bring thee word, for Herod will seek the young child to destroy him. So Herod wanted to destroy Yahushua because he felt like he was going to take the throne. Okay, I'm going to jump down to verse 15. And was there until the death of Herod, that it might be fulfilled, which was spoken of the Lord by the prophet, saying, out of Egypt have I called my son. Okay, so once again, these are things that we have to deal with. Now, what a lot of people during the time of Yahushua would have said was, Like let's say 2-3 generations down the line, after the Greeks and the Romans or they took over your land, they done built monuments in your land, and now you pissed off, you coming back to the Most High, you pissed off that these monuments and all this stuff is in your land. And now you got damn Esau coming up talking about, oh man, that don't matter. That happened years ago. You need to get over that. What the hell you mean I need to get over that? This is my land. That's a term that these guys, these political psychologists are calling historical negation. Okay. The second one is symbolic exclusion. The belief that indigenous culture is irrelevant in representations of modern national identity. That's what happens here in America. They say that our contributions to this culture are minimal, or they try to downplay our contributions to this culture. That's right. Israel said every tribe is called a byword. Mexican, African Americans, Jamaicans, Native Americans. That's right. And the reason that we call these bywords is because they're saying that our culture isn't significant enough for us to still be called by our original names. So here, take this damn name that I just gave you yesterday. And matter of fact, I'm gonna create a new one next Wednesday. And meanwhile, we're trying to figure out who we are. Okay, so these are ways that we can trace it back and find out who we are. And we know that the scriptures told us that we would lose our identity, we would lose our heritage, and in the place that it was said unto us that we were not the sons of the Most High, there it will be said to us that we are the sons of the living God. All right. Okay, let's hit this question. Was a remnant of us left in Israel, or did we all get scattered? Scripture. Now, this is a good question as well. Naphtali, you still on there? All right, Khan. What you think about that one? He said, was a remnant of us left in Israel, or did we all get scattered?
I would go to Isaiah 11. 11 and let's see, 11 and 11. All right, there's a place that's not, it's in the land, but biblically you wouldn't really recognize it. I think it's so we read Isaiah 11. So it says, and it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people which shall be left from Assyria and from Egypt and from Pathros and from Cush and from Elam and from Shinar and from Hamath and from the islands of the sea. So if you want to be technical, all those places that are named, that's the Holy Land. From Egypt, from the Nile River to the Euphrates, that's the Holy Land. So I would say yes. But if you want to be more technical, Hamath is a Canaanite region that's near, if I recall, it's near like Zidon and
right.
And, yeah. And so our people are in those lands.
Okay. So, and what I would say is there's no way to really tell where we were and where we're not. There's no way to tell where we are if we're in trace amounts, I should say. So we can do the best we can to come up with an answer for that. But the Most High said that his people will be upon the earth as a dew. Okay. Let me pull that real quick. Salakia, I didn't have these locked and loaded. And we also know that the Most High will gather us from all nations. So in order for him to gather us from all nations, we have to be displaced into those nations. Okay, so I'm going to start with Jeremiah 23:3. Okay. Jeremiah 23:3 says, And I will gather the remnant of my flock out of all countries where I have driven them, and will bring them again to their folds, and shall be fruitful and increase. Now, if we jump over to Deuteronomy 30 and 3, we're going to see basically the same thing. That the Lord thy God will turn thy captivity and have compassion upon thee, and will return and gather thee from all the nations. Now, what's very interesting is that in some places in Jeremiah, the Most High actually says, now this was, of course, for the Babylonian captivity, the Most High tells them that he's going to scatter them, but he also says that those who are not scattered will be destroyed by the sword and by the famine and by the pestilence. So, you know, that's definitely a difficult question, just for the simple fact that all right, Salakia for that, Israel. Salakia, I hit the wrong button. All right. So
Hey, you kicked yourself out of the lobby on the live.
Con. Am I back in now, Adawan?
Okay. Yeah, we see.
Okay, Con. All right, so I would just say this. It's difficult to say that at 70 AD, 100% of Israel was scattered exactly at that time. It's difficult to say that. But we do know that about 30 years after that, 40 years after that, something like that, the Bar Kokhba revolt happened, and some Israelites were still there at that time. So even then, it's difficult to say that 100% of the Israelites were scattered. So I would hesitate to say 100% of the Israelites went anywhere at one particular time. We didn't see that with any of the captivities throughout the Bible. When the Babylonians came and took Israel, people was left behind. When the Assyrians came and took Northern Kingdom, Israel was left behind. You understand? So I would hesitate to say that 100% of them left Israel. And I will also hesitate to say, you know, what group of people stayed there throughout the whole time, unless we had substantial evidence to back that up, in scripture to back that up. I hope that was a fair answer, but I feel like certain answers we can't pretend that we know the answer to that. Did you have anything that you wanted to weigh in on that one, Adawan? He was asking if he said, was a remnant of us left in Israel, or did we all get scattered?
I mean, Isaiah 11 pretty much handles that. So, you know, that's good. I mean, you can carry on from there. You know, you got other scriptures. Hold on, because I got the feedback from the television. Hold on. So you could get more scriptures from there, but the main thing to focus on is the idea of what you're teaching. This is more important. What you're explaining to the people is how we became scattered into all nations. All right. I thought it was very good information explaining how the king of Assyria carried us away even before the second temple was destroyed. That's very important to understand. Showing you that already the children of Israel were amongst the other nations, intermarrying, changing our look, our phenotype through intermarrying with the other nations. And now what people have to understand is that the Israelites will look like every nation under the sun. When you be mature, you have to understand that. Okay. Hey, yo, A1 squad, stop writing comments. Yo, don't kick him out, but you know what to do. Okay? Because he made me forget my point. He's distracting. That's the reason why you don't distract in the comments. Concentrate on what's being taught. All right, you have to be very mature when approaching Israel and what they will look like. You can't have this idea that all Negroes are one skin, all Israelites are one skin complexion, all Israelites are Negro. What does it mean to be Negro? Even Negro is a byword. What does that mean?
Right.
when you really think about it. All right. Now, as far as the camp, this is something that you have to be mature to understand. But this is the camp stance. Yes, Israelites might come with blonde hair and blue eyes. But us personally, in this era, if you look like Esau physically, we are not going to allow you to gather with us. Now, somebody going to say, well, how? Well, you're being a hypocrite. You just said that person might be an Israelite. Listen to what I'm saying. My job is to look after my flock. I'm not going to let some Edomite come in amongst us because he swears he's an Israelite and shoot up the whole damn feast day. No. All right? Just like they profile us, I profile Esau. He's the most profane in all the earth. I profile his ass. All right?
That's right.
If you come looking like the other nations and you say that you Israel, we're going to tell you this. Fine. Come to camp, listen, but stand afar off. You should understand that you make our people uncomfortable based on how you look. And you should be confident that the oppression that's done happened to our people requires us to have our own sanctuary. So if you really was an Israelite, you would have no problem standing afar off and letting us worship in peace. And you could get the same doctrine and the same teaching and all the same edification, but you just can't come to our feast days or gather with us for the safety and peace of mind of our people. Now, whoever don't like that, don't say nothing to the soldiers. You say something to me. That's our way of dealing with that confusion of faith issue. Whether you believe confusion of faith means to be ashamed, or whether you mean it in the literal sense that our look has become confused and Israel can come in all variations. That's just the way I'm choosing to deal with it to maintain sanctuary for our people that worship with us. All right, we're not gonna be like damn Dylan Roof Church. Oh, the white boy want to worship with us. He said he love our God. We gotta let him inside. And then the man done shot Granny in the face. No, your ass gonna be outside. You can't come in our feast day. All right, and let the Most High sort it out in the end, which is the wheat and the tares. Get that account. The wheat and the tares. Get that account in Matthew. This is the way we deal with this issue. Hey, whether you like it, understand it, believe it or not, I had to make that decision for the safety of my flock. I don't care if you don't like it. People don't even like to talk about this. Then you got other camps going to such an extent to prove that they just so deep and they understand so well. They got white boys with them. Straight up white boys. You look at them. No, he said he an Israelite. Okay, well, you run that risk. I'm not running that risk with these families that I'm responsible for. Esau, your ass going to be outside. And if it turns out that you, Jake, the Most High going to understand my decision was done for safety of the flock.
That's right.
And now, if he sent an angel to me and the angel says, no, call no man unclean, which the Lord has made clean, in the situation of Cornelius to let me know that he is Jake, that's something different. But the Most High ain't going to give those kind of revelations in this day and time. So I'm going to err on the side of caution. I don't care if you don't like it. Who got the account? Read it.
Book of Matthew, chapter 13, verse 24. And another parable put he forth unto them, saying, the kingdom of heaven is likened unto a man which soweth good seed in his field. But while men slept, his enemy came and sowed tares amongst the wheat and went his way.
That's what happened. So that's what happened while we were asleep. In other words, while we didn't know who we were, while we were in captivity, while we were in subjection to other nations, the enemy took our women and raised up seed to them. So you have literal Edomites walking around that look like Jake. It goes both ways. It's a hard decision to make, ain't it? Leadership is tough, ain't it? Read on.
But when the blade was sprung up and brought forth fruit, then appeared then appeared the tares also.
Come on.
So the servants of the householder came and said unto him, Sir, did not thou sow good seed in thy field? from whence then has it tares?
See, that's what we're talking about right now. Now that the time for the word to bear fruit, the blade has sprung up. Now the word is out on YouTube. You got Israelites on every corner doing unity camps. You got Israelites here. You got Israelites there. Overseas, in Africa. We got a brother and sons of thunder that's in Ghana. So now everybody wants to run to this light. I'm an Israelite. I feel it. I'm an Israelite. Okay. So now what's happening is the servants are asking the master, should we physically ourselves take it upon ourselves to remove the tares from the wheat? So you would say, well, Joel, that's what you're doing. You said if he looked like an Edomite, he can't worship with you. I didn't say that. I said the man is welcome to come to camp, get the doctrine, get the edification. He just got to move over there for the safety of the flock. We're not letting no dealing rules amongst us. No, I don't care if you don't like that. It's my job to look after these people, man, and other brothers' job. That's the decision we made. That's it. Notice I didn't bar the doors of salvation to that man and say, well, you can't get the kingdom because I've decided you're not an Israel. I didn't say that. I said, you got to be over there. That's what I said. And no, you cannot come to our feast day. You can watch it online. You get the same edification. You just can't be amongst us because we're going to err on the side of safety. So don't say that I'm defying the scripture. I'm doing everything the scripture said, which is you're going to read it. Go ahead.
Verse 28, he said unto them, an enemy have done this. The servant said unto him, wilt thou then that we go and gather them up? But he said, nay, lest while we gather up the tares, ye root up also the wheat with them.
See, now that's talking about barring the doors of salvation. You can't go to a man and say, you are not an Israelite. The Bible is not for you. Go in the world and live it up and then die when the judgment comes. We can't do that. We do that to Esau that knows Esau, that's got the spirit of Esau, and everybody through his spirit, he's up there scoffing the camp. We tell him, go enjoy your kingdom. Get ready for slavery. But if a dude come to us and he look like another nation, but he say, yo, I'm an Israelite, or he look like a straight up corn-fed Wisconsin white boy, I'm an Israelite, man. I am. Yo, you know what we're going to say? Okay, that's fine. We're not going to try to decide for him his salvation, but we're going to say, you can't be with us, though. And you should understand that if you really Jake. It's for the comfort and safety of the people. What would be taking it upon myself to decide who's the wheat and who's the tares would be for me to decide that man's salvation. And that's not my place. I am a man. That's all I am. Read on.
Let both grow together until the harvest. And in the time,
let them both grow together into the harvest. Come on.
And in the time of harvest, I will say to the reapers, gather ye together first the tares, and bind them in bundles to burn them, but gather the wheat into my barn.
See, so in that day when the Most High returns and it's time to actually separate those who are not Israel from amongst the Israelites, and every man has to flee and turn to his own nation, the Most High said he's going to gather them tares and cast them into the fire to burn them. And didn't the Bible say that about Esau? It said Jacob shall be a flame, and Ephraim shall be a fire, and Esau shall be stubble, man.
That's right.
Prophecy fulfilled. All right. That's our position on that situation. All right. Go ahead on.
Khan. I got a precept as well. I think a lot of the times we miss this. It's going to be Matthew 9:37. Then said he unto his disciples, the harvest truly is plenteous, but the laborers are few. Pray ye therefore for the Lord of the harvest that he will send forth laborers into his harvest. So, hey, we got to be praying that the Most High brings the laborers, man. Like, you know, as he just pointed out, it's people waking up all over the place. We need to be praying to the Most High that he continues to send laborers into this harvest. It's going to continue to get harder, Israel, especially as these demons continue to multiply and manifest. Man, it's something about this damn coronavirus. They got them wilding. So, yeah, we just got to definitely stay prayed up, man. Fast for brothers if they need it, and yeah, we're gonna do this, man. We're gonna get the kingdom. Anybody got any more questions? Y'all seen any in the chat? I didn't see any.
Shalaki, Adawan.
Khan, go ahead.
I just want to say, the water for the brilliant lesson today. Thanks for edification. All praises to the Most High by Hashem Yahushua.
Khan, all praises. The water. Yeah, all praises, man. The water to Tanaya Bat Tazayawan. Salakia for messing your name up. The water. Yahweh Bashem, Yahweh Shah, Shamartha. Wa Barakatha. All right. Khan, Soldier Israel brought out Matthew 22 and 14. Let me hit Matthew 22 and 14 real quick. For many are called, but few are chosen. That's right. That's right, man. The water. Hey, so look, I just wanted to say this, man, before I go. It's definitely important. The water, Abaya Judah. Yahweh Hashem, Yahweh Shah, Barakatha. But yeah, I just wanted to say this before I go, man. Definitely spend time going back over and look at the I'm gonna answer that question in a minute, but spend time and go over looking at the historical tags in the Bible. You know, a lot of the times we read past these timestamps and these tags, man. It's a lot of timestamps and tags in the Bible. You know, on the third day I did this, and then on the fourth day I did that. Go back and look at those. Don't read over that. Don't read over what it feels like to be an endless genealogy. Don't read over that. As an Israelite, it's your responsibility to stop reading over stuff. We passed that. You know what I'm saying? That's almost like convincing your children to eat vegetables. Like, what is that? I don't have to convince you to eat vegetables because you're a grown-ass man. So go back, eat your vegetables. Make sure you're getting these timestamps, because a lot of the times, some of the scoffs that they're coming up with can be cut right there in the chapter. Yes, a precept can cut it smooth like butter and in a couple of words, better than you could have put it yourself. But the chapter itself, a lot of the times, cuts it before we leave the chapter. So read those tags, highlight them, because they're going to help you out, man. I tell you, they're going to help you out. So Brother Jose asked the question, right? He said, how can we join Sons of Thunder? Hey, where are you at? Where are you at? Post that in there. And like our captain said, Captain Benaiah said, send us an email. Okay, let them know you want to join Sons of Thunder, and they can hook you up. But where are you at? Post that as well. He's in Iowa. See that? I ain't even know brothers was in Iowa. that ain't even no shade. Like, I ain't even know brothers was in Iowa. But all praises. Khan. That's right. Yeah, it's a lot of brothers in Texas. A lot of brothers. But yeah, man. Hey, no matter where you at, the Most High got you, man. You know what I'm saying? Everywhere the sole of your foot touches is blessed. You know what I'm saying? And eventually, that land is gonna be our land. Eventually, you know. Khan, go ahead.
That brother gonna be prophesying in the cornfield.
He said, "Who is this that's gonna come to a cornfield?" Right. That's right. If you build it, they will come, man. That's all we're trying to do. Hey, yeah, he said not many. Hey, you know, it's funny because I used to live in Idaho when I was in the military. I used to live in Idaho. It wasn't no brothers out there. But Khan, man, all praises, man. I appreciate y'all for joining the class. If you got any last questions, that's fine. Otherwise, we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up, and we're gonna say our prayer on here. So if you want to join the prayer, call into the class. Somebody post a number real quick, and I'll put it on the screen, and we'll have brothers call into the class, and we'll do this prayer the right way, man.
Also, don't forget to mention, we're not going to have camp at Woodruff Park tomorrow. We're going to be on 1130 Euclid Avenue in Atlanta with the Watchmen for Israel at 3:30 p.m. All right? So tomorrow,
Sons of Thunder will not have camp at Woodruff Park like we normally do. We're going to be on Euclid Avenue, 1130 Euclid Avenue in Atlanta, with the Watchmen for Israel helping them kick off their camp out here. So we're going to go show support and love for those brothers. So that's where we'll be at. You're welcome to join us. There'll be a lot of Israelites out there in the spirit. All right?
Khan. He asked if there's any brothers in Houston, Texas. A lot of times, if you Google Israelites and put your city there, or not Google, but YouTube Israelites and put your city there, you'll get a flood of videos that come up. That's how I suggest trying to find that. It's hard to just blast all the camps and put them on there. All right, so as y'all call in, we're gonna get off the live. Sons of Thunder Israelites is our heart's and prayer desire that all Israel be saved. Shalom.